The clean environment is essential for healthy living. A contaminated environment has adverse effects on people, on plants, and even on animals.
I love clean environment because it makes me have a sound mind in everything that I do.
It keeps us fit. We will not get fall sick when our environment is clean.
We should have a clean environment because we want the place to look good. We want your country to look good.
People should care more about this kind of environment because it's good for our health.
Clean environment means healthy food for me, means me being healthy as well.
Having a clean environment helps beautify the whole community.
The Earth is the only planet that supports life, and that's the only planet we have.
People should care about having a clean environment because when you take care of nature, it will take care of you.
Hello and welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Twinodio, coming to you from Kampala here in Uganda. Now, science tells us that keeping everything clean and organized is good for us. So why not apply that principle to the environment?
Good question, Sandra. And in this edition, we'll be meeting all sorts of people who do just that. They're working to improve the environment and protect the natural world. I'm Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria, and here's what we've got coming up. An island in the Indian Ocean planning to phase out energy produced from fossil fuels. 2 young German entrepreneurs providing green alternatives to chemical cleaning agents. And artists in Ghana who are combining creativity and environmental activism. Africa's mighty rivers are a lifeline in many parts of the continent. Their waters are used for both domestic and agricultural purposes, making a lot of people reliant on the rivers for their livelihoods. But increased migration to urban areas is taking its toll. In Johannesburg, the Henops River is chronically polluted, with devastating consequences for its biodiversity and communities living along its bank. Now, local volunteers are working to limit the damage.
Everyone is getting sick.
Indirectly, we are killing ourselves as well.
And I don't think it's healthy for the ground.
Yeah, we need change.
Piles of rubbish, washed up heavy rains. It's a common sight in densely populated areas along the Henops River. This spot is just a few meters from Tembisa Township, home to more than 500,000 people.
Our children play around here and we buy food that is sold just next to the river here. And then that food is contaminated. Everyone is getting sick, of which is not a conducive environment for us now. It's not safe.
Representatives from the South African NGO Fresh take stock of the devastation. Their mission is to restore the Henops River and its surrounding wetlands with the help of volunteers.
We're just a few kilometers below the source of this river. This is beautiful fountain water. It should be crystal clear, but it's incredibly polluted. If we don't pick up this trash, no one's going to pick it up.
With effectively no waste collection system here in South Africa's second largest township, locals simply dump their garbage on the already existing piles. Residents say the river has become a communal rubbish bin.
Like the place is not good. It's not good at all. Like clean, So yeah, I think we need dustbin. People who's gonna clean it like now and then, Yeah, we need change, guys.
Today, the team from Fresh wants to inspect one of their litter traps. 4 have been installed on the river's upper course. The NGO has invented its own traps. They are constructed from thick wire cables woven through nets and filled with recycled polystyrene. The contraption is anchored on either side of the river.
It mostly catches styrofoam in the floods. It also works as a sediment trap to slow the water down, so it sediments out a lot of sand here.
And that sand also serves as a home for beneficial organisms. It prevents further erosion too. The source of the Henops River is situated east of Johannesburg. After leaving the urban areas behind, it meanders through fields and valleys until it eventually joins the Limpopo River system. It later ends up in the Indian Ocean. This intricate system of waterways supports millions of people in both South Africa and 3 neighboring countries. This river is an important source of drinking water. It's also vital for agricultural crops. Farmers like Johann Steenberg are very concerned.
Sometimes the river is totally black because of the sewage. It's very bad for us. We're worried about the phosphor in the water. It go into the ground, it go into the crops, and I don't think it's healthy for the ground. It's also not healthy for people.
And that's not all. Large amounts of raw sewage are spilling into the Henops. Water samples are tested for E. coli bacteria to assess fecal contamination. Near the river source, E. coli concentration has been measured at 100,000 times above the accepted limit. The root cause is down to an absence of proper wastewater treatment, according to environmental scientist Aisha Leha.
We find determinants associated with wastewater effluent, chemicals such as ammonia, which result in the death of all aquatic organisms, including insects and fish. We also find phosphates, which can lead to blue-green blooms, algal blooms in rivers. And we find very high levels of E. coli, which will make you sick upon contact.
Attempts to get the government to address the results of Leha's tests have been discouraging so far. So Fresh is now pushing to get the river landscape officially declared a nature conservation area. As a protected biodiversity corridor meandering through the most urbanized areas on the continent, it would help to revitalize South Africa's industrial heartland.
The Henops has got quite a complicated geography. It flows through 3 different municipalities. It really needs the cohesive vision of a provincial authority, but their main concern is that the river is so polluted.
On Earth Day this year, a group from Fresh set out to demonstrate to the authorities the potential of a cleaner river system. They returned the litter trap on a mission to remove 60 tons of waste from this spot in one day. 15 volunteers from the local community were paid 20 euros each, plus lunch, for their efforts. Bit by bit, the waste was carried off to a collection point to be transported to a nearby landfill.
It's beautiful, the river's breathing. I think the whole wetland is looking much better. I think we can restore this place.
It's a wetland area. So if it gets polluted, and then indirectly we are killing ourselves as well, because this water won't be able to sustain life and sustain us. So we're dependable to this water system.
Réunion is a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. In the 1970s, most of its energy needs were met by hydropower. But the population has doubled since then, has halved their energy needs. The island has become increasingly dependent on diesel and coal.
That is very right, Chris. But Reunion values its rich biodiversity and the status as an ecotourism destination. So now the island wants to clean up its act and switch its entire energy production to renewables before the decade is up. Now we went out to find out what progress has been made so far.
Reunion Island is famed for its beautiful beaches and lush green mountains. But when it comes to carbon emissions, the island's record is less attractive. Around 2/3 of its energy needs are covered by fossil fuels. This heavy oil factory in the city of Le Port is run by French utility EDF. In future, it's due to switch to largely carbon-neutral operation running on colza and soya oil. Just one step towards achieving an ambitious goal, switching to renewables completely by 2028. This power plant, owned by Albioma, runs partly on coal from South Africa and partly on domestic biomass. It will need to switch completely to biomass in future. The sugar refinery next door at least provides a convenient source of the green fuel. We utilize as much of the sugar cane as possible. We press the liquid out of it, and the sand and earth caught in the canes gets distributed on the surrounding fields as fertilizer. The molasses go to the rum distilleries. The Albioma power station uses the plant fibers to produce energy that flows into the public grid, from which we then draw our electricity. The Albioma power plant accounts for around 11% of the island's overall energy output. The conversion to all biomass production is costing the company 200 million euros, and that's just for this one plant. These are our 2 new storage domes. They have a capacity of 9,500 cubic meters each. These are the kind of units we mainly use. We plan to use sustainable biomass that meets European Union standards. We'll initially use wood pellets from the United States, but will later switch to suppliers closer to home, like in Mozambique and South Africa.
Plus proche de la Réunion, on est sur la zone Mozambique, l'Afrique du Sud.
Only 10% of the wood pellets will be sourced from the island. That means 900,000 tons a year will need to be imported. The company says it will still cut the plant's overall carbon footprint by over 80%. But environmental activist Jean-Claude Futhaza says importing wood is not a sustainable solution. Of course, these factories need to be converted, but we also need to build up our domestic production of biomass. That will be better for the environment and create more jobs. Futhaza built this house a few years ago. It's equipped with solar panels and a solar boiler. So I'm just making tea, I'm heating the water with solar power, and the herbs are from my garden. The house has built-in ventilation, so it doesn't need air conditioning. It uses only a third of the energy that his old house required. So he has surplus electricity that he sells to the public grid. He says many more homes could be converted to solar power without great expense. I could show you plenty of houses that still don't have solar power. If they all had solar panels and a solar boiler, that would already cover half of the island's energy needs. So far, the government is more interested in large-scale solar farms, like Les Cedars, a 9-megawatt project in the south of the island. Here, fruit and vegetables are grown under the solar panels, which provide the plants protection from the hot sun. This is a small island. We have to make good use of space for new buildings, farmland and power plants. So here we are combining a solar power plant with an organic farm. We also have a battery system that stores the electricity produced during the day to feed it into the grid at peak times. The company plans to expand this model and multiply its solar output 6-fold. That would be another important step towards achieving Reunion's goal of covering all its energy needs with carbon-neutral renewables by 2028.
Here's a quick question for you. Do you feel better when everything around you is clean and tidy? The 2 German startup founders you're going to meet next certainly do, but they don't want it to be at the cost of the environment. So find out how they solved their dilemma in this week's Doing a Bit.
If we realised how many harmful chemicals are in our cleaning products, we would use a lot less of them. Or none at all. At least that's what Jeanette Schmidt decided. Towards the end of her design studies, she focused on sustainability in everyday life.
I realised that many conventional cleaners and detergents contain lots of harmful substances. Not good for me and not good for the environment. And all that packed in plastic.
She remembered how her grandmother cleaned. So, with her friend Henriette Grevling, she developed a business concept. With 6 simple substances, you can make 10 different household cleaners. Besides baking soda and vinegar essence, you need citric acid, curd soap, soda, and certain other essences. The boxes are assembled in the workshops of 2 German charity organizations in Leipzig. The startup sells everything online, either the individual products or the whole set.
Since we set out 4 years ago, our customer base has grown, now includes many retailers. We have many bring-your-own-packaging stores.
For the future, they plan on developing even more sustainable products. And above all, they want to make their company itself completely sustainable.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
Throughout history, people have attempted to put human urine to good use. The British researchers once developed a process to convert it into electrical energy. Potential household applications have also been explored, such as using it to cure warts or corns on people's hands and the feet. But more recently, researchers in Sweden and France have been conducting experiments on using the human byproduct in agriculture. Could our own urine help save the planet instead of being flushed down the toilet? Let's take a look.
A large tank of what some are calling the new liquid gold. This abundant supply is destined for a wheat farm in a leading agriculture region of France.
After filling up the tank, we'll use the spreader machine to spray the urine onto the fields.
And that urine is of human origin. Lucie Baron is in charge of a project that aims to revolutionize France's fertilizer market, using nitrogen-rich urine as a natural alternative to chemical options. It's already being deployed on these fields in Saclay, just outside Paris. Emmanuel Laureau was among the first local farmers to sign up for the trial. Initially skeptical, he was concerned that the urine might contain pharmaceutical residues. But once those fears were allayed, he was very keen to get involved.
It'd be great to replace other fertilizers with urine, which likewise contain nitrogen. Otherwise, it just ends up in the sewage system, where it evaporates and is lost to the atmosphere. We may as well reuse it to nourish our crops.
The preliminary results have been very encouraging. Researchers estimate that human urine could replace around 1/4 of nitrogen and phosphorus-based fertilizers worldwide. It does require collection and some processing, but the supply of the raw material is infinite. In contrast, while synthetic fertilizers do increase crop yields, they're also a major pollutant and costly.
It's important to bear in mind that prices for chemical fertilizer have tripled in the space of 18 months. So, of course, this new kind of fertilizer, sourced from urban areas, is of huge interest. Except that, in practice, it's still in very short supply.
Most of the urine supplied so far has come from mobile toilets at public festivals, which are notorious for being unsanitary and smelly. But there are alternatives. One restaurant in Paris is using a model that is a world away from the original urine-diverting dry toilets. Fabien Gandossi says the new mechanized units are just as hygienic as toilets that use water.
We've been getting some very positive feedback. People are initially a bit surprised, but I think that in daily use, they'll see little difference compared to a traditional system.
And there's even a bonus factor.
We saved 22,000 liters of water in just 3 weeks.
Good news in the face of increasing water shortages. And if all toilets were liberated from the dependence on a water supply system, they could be put just about anywhere. Collecting and using urine as fertilizer is not truly revolutionary, but the practice is currently gaining momentum, with studies being conducted in countries all over the globe, from Sweden to South Africa.
How can African artists respond to the climate crisis endangering the planet? It is an interesting question, don't you think? Luckily, it is one we have an answer to here on Eco Africa. Right, Chris?
That's right, Sandra. Creative minds from across Africa are exploring the devastating consequences of the climate crisis through their arts. Whether they are painters, sculptors, dancers, or musicians, the message of their work has the ability to reach many people. We met two artists who also want to inspire their fellow Ghanaians to do their bit for the environment.
Keep it clean, MOK, traffic rhythm. Keep it clean. The Lord is
For 10 years now, musician David Kumurdzi, who also goes by the name Togbi Ghana, has been trying to mobilize people to clean up Accra.
keep it clean, keep it clean. Keep the environment clean. Keep it clean, keep it clean.
A lot of people listen to music than any other stuff in a day. A lot of people also take a lot of advice, also inspiration from music, basically. And also I see it as also appealing to actually use for creating awareness.
For David Kumurdzi, environmental activism is more than sitting in his small studio and singing. Every Sunday, he heads to one of the beaches in the capital, Accra. He works with a group of volunteers collecting the trash. Cleaning up a single beach takes hours. The volunteers sort the trash into different kinds of waste. Then they sell it to recycling companies.
Actions speak louder than words. I believe as a leader, I'm supposed to set the pace for others to follow. So I say, okay, I'm going to do this and make sure my fans and my relatives and others in the community actually can also see the example I'm trying to put as my effort, that they can also join us to make it successful.
Essulfi Banton is another artist who collects trash here at the beach. In the midst of all the plastic bottles, today he came across a broken flotation device from a fishing net, which he'll be able to put to good use.
Wow, love this. I collect trash from the environment, the streets, the beaches, wherever I find, I collect trash and then I convert it into art, visual art.
He lives in the city of Mpraeso, about 100 kilometers from Accra. He designs installations and collages. The works pick up on themes from daily life in the country. This one includes part of the flotation device.
My message also talks about how we have distanced ourselves from the environment, because from a far distance, you see my work as a painting work, a flat work, a very beautiful artwork. But when you get close to it, this is when you realize that you see a whole lot of trash.
Essulfi Banton also teaches at a high school. Ghana has recently incorporated environmental education into its regular curriculum. In his classes, Banton teaches kids painting and talks about environmental topics.
The future generation is the people who are going to take good care of us when we are old. And then there are the people who are going to really care for the environment in the near future. So if we are not able to inculcate this type of idea in them, they will grow up not to really understand and love the environment.
Essulfi Banton sometimes takes his students on field trips. Today they're paying a visit to his gallery, where he presents his own works. Some of them have sold very well. David Kumurdzi, in contrast, can't make a living just from his music, but he has made a difference. Thanks to him and other volunteers, Accra's beaches are a little bit cleaner now.
If what those individuals do isn't inspiring, then I don't know what is. I am Chris Alems from Lagos, Nigeria. Thanks for joining us. It's farewell for now. But we hope you tune in next time for another episode of Echo Africa. And thanks, of course, to Sandra. It's always a pleasure hosting the show with you.
Thank you, Chris. It is a pleasure for me too. Fantastic teamwork, an incredible show, and of course, our attentive audience. So that's it for Eco Africa this week. Goodbye from me here in Kampala, Uganda. See you next week.